Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Randana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. So we'll be discussing from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, 25th chapter and shloka number 10. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Atha me deva sammoham apakristam tvamarhasi yovagraho hamameti etasmin yojitvastaya. Atha me deva sammoham apakristam tvamarhasi yovagraho hamameti etasmin yojitvastaya. Atha me deva sammoham apakristam tvamarhasi Yovagraho hamameti etasmin yojitvastvaya. What word meaning? Atha, now, me, may, my, deva, O Lord, sammoham, delusion, apakrashtam, to dispel, tvam, you, arhasi, be pleased, yaha, which, avagraha, misconception, aham, I, mama, mine, iti tas, etasmin, in this, Yojitaha, engaged, Tvaya, by you. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace is Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Now be pleased, my Lord, to dispel my great delusion. Due to my feeling of false ego, I have been engaged by your Maya and have identified myself with the body and the consequent bodily relations. Purport. The false ego of identifying one's body as one's self and of claiming things possessed in relationship with this body is called Maya. In Bhagavad Gita 15th chapter, the Lord says, I am sitting in everyone's heart, and from me comes everyone's remembrance and forgetfulness. Devahuti has stated that false identification of the body with the self and attachment for possessions in relation to the body are also under the direction of the Lord. Does this mean that the Lord discriminates by engaging one in his devotional service and another in sense gratification? If that were true, it would be an incongruity on the part of the Supreme Lord, but that is not the actual fact. As soon as the living entity forgets his real constitutional position of eternal servitorship to the Lord and wants instead to enjoy himself by sense gratification, he is captured by Maya. This capture by Maya is the consciousness of false identification with the body, an attachment for the possessions of the body. These are the activities of Maya, and since Maya is also an agent of the Lord, it is indirectly the action of the Lord. The Lord is merciful. If anyone wants to forget him and enjoy this material world, he gives him full facility, not directly, but through the agency of his material potency. Therefore, since the material potency is the Lord's energy, indirectly it is the Lord who gives the facility to forget him. Devahuti therefore said, my engagement in sense gratification was also due to you. Now kindly get me free from this entanglement. By the grace of the Lord, one is allowed to enjoy this material world. But when one is disgusted with material enjoyment and is frustrated, and one sincerely surrenders unto the lotus feet of the Lord, then the Lord is so kind that he frees one from entanglement. Krishna therefore says in Bhagavad Gita, first of all, surrender and then I will take charge of you and free you from all reactions of sinful activities. Sinful activities are those activities performed in forgetfulness of our relationship with the Lord. In this material world, activities for material enjoyment, which are considered to be pious, are also sinful. For example, one sometimes gives something in charity to a needy person with a view to getting back the money 4 times increased. Giving with the purpose of gaining something is called charity in the mode of passion. Everything done here is done in the modes of material nature, and therefore all activities but service to the Lord are sinful. Because of sinful activities, we become attracted by the illusion of material attachment, and we think, I am this body. I think of the body as myself and of bodily possessions as mine. Devahuti requested Lord Kapila to free her from that entanglement of false identification and false possession. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaisnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschyate Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauratushe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So I welcome all devotees for the morning Bhagavatam class, and I seek blessings of each one of you so that I get the right words to glorify the Lord from Bhagavatam. So I'll begin by describing what is the context here, what discussion is going on in this verse. Then we will analyze each word of the verse and what is it trying to convey, and what concepts does Srila Prabhupada highlight in the purport, on which we will elaborate to help us practically apply in our day-to-day life. So after Kardama Muni left to the forest, then this is the instance wherein the conversation is taking place between Mother Devahuti and Lord Kapila. So throughout this chapter, Mother Devahuti asks many questions, and Lord Kapila eventually answers them one by one. So here is the first question asked by her. So this question she's asking is to dispel her delusion that is caused by Maya, or Lord's external energy. So now what is this illusion that Mother Devahuti is in? So here it is said, Aham Mameti. Aham means I, and Mameti means mine. So she says in the same verse that the reason for this illusion is the false ego, or the false identification with the body that has caused this illusion. She is also highlighting here that it is your Maya, which means she's trying to say, it is your Maya that has bewildered me. So you help me to dispel this Maya. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is quoting this Sarvadharman Parityaja, that everyone faces problems in life, just as Devahuti is facing. But here Devahuti is glorious because she is attempting to surrender to Lord Kapila and seeking for a solution. Like problems are there for everyone. We are in the material world, and it is said, Padam Padam Yat Vipadam. So even the demigods face troubles. But the good thing about them is, whenever they face troubles, they, headed by Brahma, approach Vishnu for shelter. So everyone faces problems. The only thing to be learned is where to go for shelter. Who can provide a permanent solution? So I remember His Holiness Rana Swami Maharaj says in a lecture that Krishna is the master. Means he is the master of everyone and everything. Everything is servant of Krishna. Even the problems that come, they are also servants of Krishna. If they don't give an opportunity to surrender, they wouldn't have come. And in the purport, Prabhupada is highlighting that Krishna is so merciful that anyone who is ready to surrender, he accepts him. So he accepted Vibhishan and he was ready to accept even Ravana. So here we see that Devahuti has accepted her son as her guru, and she's trying to inquire how to come out of this illusion. So as Devahuti is displaying, one must approach a guru to solve the problems of life. So Srila Prabhupada many times strongly says that one must not go to a guru to increase the material fever, thinking that, I have house, I have my own house, I have my own car, now I should also have my own guru. So that is not the case. So generally devotees give this example that there are boys who are very intelligent, and they say, I have cracked IIT, I've got into a big job, accomplished so many things in my life, but I cannot control my senses. So few of the PhD students in Indian Institute of Science, they were telling us that the authorities in their hostels have removed the ceiling fan and replaced with the wall fans to avoid suicides. So therefore, these material qualifications are not helpful to solve the problems of life. And therefore, logically, even Guru did not have all these material qualifications. So the reasoning with which Devahuti is trying to approach the Lord is that at the beginning of purport, Srila Prabhupada is saying this, that Matta Smritir Jnanam Apahanam Cha. That and we know Ye Yathamam Prapadyante. So Krishna fulfilling our desire has put us into illusion, which means he is in control. This forgetfulness is given by him. And so he can only take us out of it. So verses like Devi Hesha Guna Mai Mama Maya Duratyaya Mam Eva Ye Prapadyante Mayam Etam Tarantite. So verses like this make us understand that Krishna can help us come out of the three modes, come out of Maya. And Prabhupada is saying in the first line of the purport here that accepting body as the self is Maya. That is the false identification. So it had once happened to me when I was staying in Prasid Voice. So one devotee wanted to borrow my two-wheeler. And I said, okay. Little did I know that I was to get a wonderful realization later. So I was observing from a distance, and the way the devotee removed the two-wheeler from the parking, I understood that he is going to drive for the first time. So there were minor scratches as a result of touching the neighboring vehicles. He went his way and I went my way. But then I was wondering, why was I feeling the pain? Although I was seeing this, why was I feeling the pain? So I was all right. I did not get any hurt. The vehicle must have got hurt. But then why should I feel the pain? Although the scratch was on the vehicle, the pain was as if in my heart. So I understood that this is all because of my strong identification with it. And I was thinking, now even the neighboring vehicle also would have got scratched, but it hardly mattered to me because I did not identify with it. So this is what Devahuti is trying to say, that the problem is our false identification, and that causes so many troubles in life. So then what is true identification? So Prabhupada in the first paragraph says that it is the constitutional position of the Jiva to serve the Lord. Jiva Swarupa Hai Krishna Nitya Das. And we can actually observe those devotees who have perfected their life, identifying themselves as the spirit soul, part and parcel of the Lord. They do not have any suffering due to their body, although their body may give so many troubles. We know the case of Jayapataka Swami Maharaj, Bhakti Swami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada himself. So much troubles they underwent, but they never suffered like ordinary souls. So it is said that there is pain but no suffering. Means what does it mean? Like suppose my hand is cut. So the signal will be sent to brain that and the pain will be there as usual, but there is no suffering as felt by ordinary people. So even medical science supports this fact through the explanation of the placebo effect, that all the pains and pleasures of this world are depends on the state of one's mind. So now this verse specifically asks for a solution to this illusion, moha. And we are in chapter 25. The 23rd chapter is entitled Devahuti's Lamentation, which is Shoka. So we all had memorized one sloka from the first canto, which says Shoka, Moha, Bhaya, Apaha. And when will this Shoka, Moha, Bhaya, Apaha happen? When there is Bhaktir Utpadyate Pumsaha. The entire sloka says, the entire sloka is Yasyam Vaishu Shruyamanayam Krishne Parama Purushe Bhaktir Utpadyate Pumsaha Shoka Moha Bhaya Apaha, which means by regular oral reception to Srimad Bhagavatam, bhakti for Krishna will be awakened and all Shoka, Moha, Bhaya will be destroyed. So here is a call for action for all of us. One must be determined to follow the process of Krishna consciousness, like hearing Bhagavatam, chanting the holy names, and many other things, most of which are already a part of the morning program. So recently, we had gone for a program in Tirupati, and they were telling us there that the success of ISKCON Tirupati is because they are very strict in their morning program. We have practically experienced in our voices and bases that if the morning program is neglected, then one's enthusiasm gradually goes down. And no need to mention Radhesham Prabhu's comment about morning program. So this morning program, which includes hearing Srimad Bhagavatam as recommended in the quoted verse, will awaken bhakti to Krishna. And this bhakti is the one-shot solution to all the problems. And another thing Prabhupada is highlighting here, he says about material enjoyment, Prabhupada is saying that Prabhupada is using the words disgusted and frustrated. Once upon a time, I had the best phone in the world, and it was truth. And today, I still use the same phone. But now there are so many better ones. So truths of this world are very relative. They change. And we understand that the material things are temporary and limited. Even Jesus Christ taught us that we should not aim for things of this world, because it will either be eaten by moths, stolen by thieves, or rusted by the elements. Aim only the kingdom of God. So whenever we speak on enjoyment, people generally say that, oh, this spiritual life means we have to give up all enjoyment. And there are so many restrictions, so many do's and don'ts, so many rules we have to follow. So actually, this is all simply a misunderstanding. They think that spiritual life means no enjoyment. So I very nicely recall Radhesham Prabhu says with his infinite conviction that there are people who travel 100 kilometers far to go to that one restaurant for that one particular meal. And they will even sometimes fast in the morning so that they can enjoy the buffet meal, the buffet lunch. So they also give a few things for a higher taste. And Radhesham Prabhu was telling, so those who are truly Krishna conscious, they are never satisfied with the chota mota pleasures of this world. They want nothing less than the highest pleasure. So spiritual life is a life of enjoyment. And material enjoyment only leads to frustration. It appears that there is some happiness, therefore it is illusion. Otherwise, those who are prostitutes, those who own liquor shops, or those who have the best of education, a lot of money, they must be the happiest people in this planet. But it is not the case. Like Srila Prabhupada says that these big and successful people may use science and technology and construct skyscraper buildings, but some of them even jump off the same building. So the world statistics says that there is one suicide every 40 seconds. If this class is for 1 hour, 60 minutes, then there will be 90 suicides by the end of this class. So, but by seeing like seeing brahmacharis or those who live a simple life, we get faith that yes, one can be happy, by living a simple life also, because the happiness comes from something else. So we regularly do book readings with our college boys, and as we are reading the small books of Srila Prabhupada, we understand that Prabhupada is telling this point again and again, trying to make us aware of this false identification that we are not the body, and instead trying to offer each one of us a life of eternal happiness. So this knowledge remains theoretical unless we try to apply. Of course, intellectually we will be convinced how, but unless we apply and realize, then it will become truth. And then when we speak, it becomes very powerful. So now Devahuti is making this request to Lord Kapila to remove the delusion. And the verses that follow after this is the solution that Lord Kapila offers, which I'll explain in brief. So Lord Kapila says that it is our own mind that is conditioned to being attached to lust and greed and the modes of material nature. So one has to purify one's mind. So how to purify the mind? For that, Lord Kapila says, the purification of mind can be done by intense bhakti. Mind attached to the three modes leads to entanglement through false identification. And mind attached to the Supreme Lord through bhakti, that leads to liberation. So purification means we try to attach ourselves to the Supreme Lord, and that is through bhakti. And he further says that because of which this chapter is entitled The Glories of Devotional Service. He says that bhakti is not just one of the solution, but the only solution. Even other processes without bhakti become impotent. So how does one actually begin and intensely practice bhakti? For that, again, in the future shlokas, Lord Kapila explains that it happens by association of sadhus. And primary characteristic of such a sadhu is that they are attached to the Lord. So practice of bhakti in the association of devotees is the solution to removing false identification with the body and getting free from the three modes as asked by Mother Devahuti. So that is a solution to the question that Mother Devahuti is asking. So we understand that bhakti literally means devotion or devotional service. And this devotion is a function of consciousness. It is always instructed that one has to put his consciousness while doing service. So consciousness is already beyond the platform of senses or mind or intelligence. It's on the platform of the soul. So logically, we can see that bhakti yoga should be the highest. And in bhakti yoga, one's devotion is the main metric. And the activities are of secondary or no importance, but are vital to support the devotional aspect. Like, for example, we can question ourselves. So when we clean the temple hall of the Lord, so is it physical or is it spiritual? When we read Srimad Bhagavatam, is it intellectual or is it spiritual? So it all depends on the purpose, on the motive that we have. And as Prabhupada quotes in Nectar of Instruction, that advancement in Krishna consciousness depends on the attitude of the follower. So Krishna demands this bhakti, and for this reason, he is known as Bhavagrahi. Otherwise, in other processes, like yogic penances, fire sacrifices, chanting of Vedic mantras for worship, we see that it is quite mechanical, or it appears to be like a stereotype, wherein you do something, you get some result, and little bit mistake you do, the result is changed. So it is quite mechanical. But bhakti is not like that. Krishna is Bhavagrahi. So he sees one's consciousness. So therefore, one's attitude, purpose, motive is critical to the practice of bhakti yoga. So bhakti is something that is great. Even if one is already liberated, self-realized, and nothing of this world can attract him, such a person also gets attracted to bhakti. Sukdev Goswami is one example. Nothing of this world could attract him, but he got attracted to bhakti. Same for Kumaras also. So this bhakti is being emphasized here. And this is what can remove all our lamentation, illusion, and fear, and actually make us happy. Because this bhakti connects us with the Supreme Lord, who is the reservoir of all pleasure. And when we connect to him by service, that's how we become happy in our life. So that's what Mother Devahuti is trying to question, and in future verses, Lord Kapila answers over here. So I'll just quickly summarize what all I discussed. We initially discussed about how one should always take shelter of the Lord for a permanent solution to all the material problems. And one must approach a guru with this right attitude and not for any other purpose. And then we saw how Lord can help us come out of the three modes because it is Lord's Maya. So Lord can help us come out of it. Then we also discussed about the futility of material life, about futility of material enjoyment due to the false identification. And we saw many examples wherein, although one would have got everything in life, but then there is no sense of satisfaction for him unless one connects with God. And then we finally saw the solution offered by Lord Kapila, and that is practicing bhakti in the association of devotees. So we read all of this repeatedly in the scriptures, and we hear those who are realized, they speak about this. We ourselves, when we are engaged in preaching activities, we also can observe how devotees also undergo, how new people also undergo this transformation of heart, and they slowly and slowly want to surrender to Krishna. Of course, we don't just observe in others, but we ourselves have seen this. Therefore, we are here today and practicing. So, and if we keep practicing in the association of devotees, then success is guaranteed, as said here.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, you were mentioning about the person taking out his vehicle from the parking lot, and you had observed that he was an amateur and he did not know. After that, what happened, Prabhuji? How is it related to pain and all? I just missed out that.
So I was talking about identification being the problem of being the source of one's pain or happiness. So because I identified with my two-wheeler, and my two-wheeler would have got some scratch, but I felt as if I got the pain. Scratch was there, but I felt the pain because I strongly identified with it. And then I was saying that it would have touched the neighboring two-wheeler also, but I did not feel any pain, or I did not care also because I did not identify. So identification is the cause of one's suffering or pleasure. And this false identification is the problem which Devahoti is trying to say. So that's what I tried to explain.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So I have a question. Thank you for such a wonderful class and explaining about false identification and how to overcome it. I had a question that now in family life, where we have to live with family, parents, wife, children, and take care of them. So eventually what happens is identification becomes very strong. So how can someone live in family life and not be captured by me and mine, aham and mama? Can you please elaborate on that, Prabhuji?
So you said eventually identification becomes strong, but it's not necessary that has to happen. If one has Krishna in the center, eventually Krishna Bhakti can also become very strong. So it depends on one's practice. So if we can make family into devotee and keep Krishna in the center, then our true identification will eventually come up. So we can see, in our temple, so many grihasthas are there, they serve so nicely, right? We may also know that some who will not serve so nicely. So it depends on one's individual free will, how he wants to conduct himself. So if we are in touch with devotees who are practicing very nicely, that gives us inspiration and keeps us going in bhakti. So therefore association is helps us in this. So here also the solution was that only, practicing bhakti in association.
Thank you very much for clarifying.
So Sanatan Nidaipu has asked a question. When you say Krishna looks at the attitude of our service, can you elaborate if this attitude is a gradual process or we should try it from the very first day? So I think it is both. We should try from the very first day, and gradually we should improve our service attitude towards the Lord. because we know that it is not a mechanical thing. So it's not like other processes. One's attitude is vital. So from the very first day, because that's what we also try to say when we preach, we make them understand, we give them the philosophy. And with that, we make them try to chant Hare Krishna, try to approach the Lord. So like that we say, right? So from the very first day, one can try, and gradually it builds up. So we are also still learning. We are not perfected. So it's building up.
Hare Krishna. To hear me, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. Sorry, we're just traveling. So are you saying it's a combination of both gradually improving and also being having that attitude from the beginning?
Yes.
Okay. So we do get influenced by the association that we have, both material and spiritual, which forms our attitude.
Yes, that is true.
Okay. Thank you,
So,
Prabhu.
thank you
So much for the class, Prabhu.
Yeah. So we also experience sometimes when we go to yatras, or when we go to camps, go to Pune, Mayapur, Vrindavan. So we get association of so many devotees. We just disconnect from the world and just try to focus ourselves in Krishna consciousness. So that helps us, to develop that bhakti. And whenever there is association of senior devotees, that gives us inspiration, faith. So Vipin Crew is asking a question. So how to help devotees to come out of identification of brahmachari and grihastha and bring them to identification that I am servant of Hari, Guru and Vaishnavas. Many times devotees are stuck up at varnashram level only, thinking I am brahmachari or I am grihastha. So actually, we have to focus on the basics of what I feel is one should strongly focus on the basics of Krishna consciousness, that is Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, reading, chanting, and hearing lectures. That will help us to keep the goal clear, and we will not be distracted by the ultimate goal being becoming grihastha or brahmachari. No? So when we constantly take association of our spiritual master Prabhupada, we can understand what is the goal, and when we practice, that is there intact, and will not get distracted by these things. So intense practice will help us come out of this identification. So devotees can also give any comment if they want.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. It was a very nice class. We loved it a lot. And there is one more question. After trying a lot, we can come out of from this attachment for a time being. But as we stay in a Grihastha Jivan, in every step, we feel that we have attachment in different things, persons, and even activities. How can we slowly get off this attachment to maximum and to connect with Krishna consciousness?
So one point I highlighted while speaking was about the morning program. So many grihasthas today we see, they are very grihastha, they are very good in their practices, trying to preach and helping in the mission. We see that they are very strong in their morning program. So that makes a difference. And so what is morning program? So we get up early with all devotees, we chant Hare Krishna, we hear one lecture of Srila Prabhupada or someone, and we do Mangalarti. So when our day is very good, then we get that strength to face the world throughout the day. So we also experience, it's not only just grihasthas, when we go to office or when we have to go for some other purpose, we also face sometimes problem, and our mind has to go here, there, think about that. But if our morning program is very strong, then we are very less affected. That's what we see. So it's not just grihastha, even brahmacharis may face problem. It is therefore said that morning program is like lifeline for a devotee. So if you have strong morning program, that will help us not get affected by anything material, but stay focused to what is the goal of life. Who am I? What am I supposed to do? What is the goal of life? Hope that answered the question.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, would you like to speak something? Or if anyone has question, they can ask.
No, I'm just typing in the chat one question. I could not speak. I just typed.
Prabhuji, you may take over. Maybe.